Robbie Hughes.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. We got you running for Ward 1. Election coming up in April.
April 22nd.
April 22nd. And, man, like, let's hear about you. I'm not going to... This is going to be a pretty informal podcast.
Okay.
So nothing crazy. Nobody's trying to catch you saying anything stupid or anything. I know when you first get into politics, you're always waiting for that person that's going to come along and try to, and that's not what we're trying to do here. This is mainly, you're going to be asked a million questions over the next couple of months, and especially in these forums. If you get on anybody else's podcast or show or anything, they're not going to really let you have the time to talk about yourself. Mm-hmm. So, man, I want to hear about who you are. The listeners want to hear about who you are and like where you come from, what you do, family. Who are you?
Well, good. Well, first, let me thank you. I appreciate you reaching out, and I've really looked forward to coming out here and meeting you. Never done a podcast before, so I kind of had some reservations, but you've made me feel very comfortable today. Robbie Hughes. I grew up in Panama City. I'm from Panama City. Grew up in the Cove. I'm 55 years old, and so I've done a lot in life in 55 so far. But growing up in the Cove in the 70s, growing up in Panama City in the 70s, a lot different than it is today. Today we have 2,005 homes in the Cove. Back then, we had we had somewhere between 1,500 and 1,700 homes in the Cove. So we've actually grown over there. Ward 1 is special to me because that's kind of the area that I played in growing up. All of that's water all around there. And water is what drives me. It's my peace. It's my serenity. And so I try to spend as much time on it as possible. And that came from early on, grew up on the water, so I had a lot of opportunity in the afternoons to be on it, be in it. And it's something that soothed me. So my dad's been a real estate lawyer here since 1968. I live here because of Dempsey Barron, and some people might remember him. He was a big legislator in Florida. My mother is... my mom's one of those people that you bring her name up, and the seas will part. Everybody loves my mother, and she has been a rock star educator in Bay County. Teacher of the Year when she was out here at Petronas. She ran Holy Nativity Episcopal School for a long time. She rebuilt it after the storm. My mom has a lot of wisdom that I take and ask for all the time. I'm one of two children in our family. My sister is a college professor at the University of Georgia, and she has a PhD. And interestingly enough, I graduated from the University of Alabama with a 4-year degree, and I'm the least educated person in my family with a 4-year college degree. I don't know too many people get to say that. So they're all a bunch of overachievers, and I just go do what I do. But growing up in Panama City, there were 15 boys. We started from 3K to 12th grade. And there were 9 girls in the same way. So we ran as a pack. Now you got to remember, we didn't have internet. We didn't have HBO. We didn't have none of the stuff that the kids have today. So you spent time outside, riding bikes, swimming, playing baseball. I grew up playing baseball at Sudeth Field, Sudeth Park, which, by the way, today looks way better and is much nicer than any time in my youth. So the kids today are really getting the benefit of the redo over there. But we ran as a pack, and it was, go to the yacht club and go swimming, go sailing, antagonize somebody because it was that's what you did. And we rode our bikes everywhere. Back then, life was easy. Okay. And we got to do any sport we wanted to. I didn't do football. I played golf. I didn't do soccer. I learned how to water ski, played competitive tennis. Those were things that drove me. One of the things that I know about myself is I'm very competitive, but not to the extent that I want to win. I just want to be part of. Okay. I don't have to win to make me feel better, but I know that if you and I can go battle at something, if we're playing golf together, I'm going to give you everything I got. You might beat me by a stroke, but I still had a good time playing golf with you. Where some of the people I do with, that's not what they do. My dad was in Vietnam, and I got to meet him when I was 6 months old. So they actually lived in Panama City. I lived in Panama City in 1968. I was in my mom's womb, and then he left to go to Vietnam, and so we got to meet him when I was 6 months old, and he came back and began practicing law again. So he was already doing that, and so I was really lucky when I got into real estate, which I'll get to in a minute, and had a bunch of free, really good free advice and direction. And even today, he makes sure that he asks me questions to make sure I'm doing things the way that he believes are right. And so do I, because I respect everything about how he does his business. When it was time to go to college, well, let me back up. School was always great. We had a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Probably wasn't a model student, but it's still good enough to go to college. I went to the University of Alabama. And wow, what a time. And real estate found me in my senior year. A buddy of mine had taken a class. We were talking about it. And the guy that brought me into real estate, his name was Stan Timmons, an incredible man, owned and ran San Andreas Bay Real Estate. And he gave me an opportunity. That was September of 1993. And I've been doing this ever since. I think that my personality and real estate are perfect for each other because it requires, if a door would talk to me, I'll have a conversation with it. Okay. But it's about solution-driven business, but creating relationships first. I don't sell houses. Houses sell houses. I sell a lifestyle. I'll sell an idea. I sell a location. But most importantly, I sell a relationship that I'm trying to build. I love it. I've never had the same day twice. And a lot of people can't say that. But at the end of the day, we're helping people start or complete the American dream. And part of that is home ownership. Along the way, I found something out about myself. I want to know more than the next guy. Not to make me better, but to make me more qualified for you to work with me. So what that also taught me is I'm a history guy. I know so much about Panama City, downtown, the history. People are like, wow, man, how do you know? Because I listen and I ask questions. Yeah. One of the things that I like to joke about is the history with Hughes. Come on down and we'll walk around, take a tour, and let me tell you what's going on. Yeah. But before I do that, I go find some people that know. And if you stop long enough and go talk to the people that my parents are in the late 70s, early 80s, and you talk to that generation, man, do they have some stories about Panama City. Mm-hmm. Now, why does I'm a nerd for it, so let's start with that. Mm-hmm. But why is that beneficial for somebody like you? Well, it helps me sell, remember the idea, the location, or the lifestyle. I can tell you about the history of where we're looking and possibly where we come from, and you might help you fall in love with it. And actually, I know it does. Mm-hmm. I've seen people make decisions based on that. My sister, Dr. Hughes, as she likes to refer to herself, with a PhD. Very, very proud of her. She's not a lot of people in the education world does what she does in the professors, and so she was singled out and brought to Georgia to do some work, and she stayed there and got a great daughter. I wish she'd come here a little bit more often, but work keeps her up there. So from a family perspective, I learned hard work. I learned get up and make life, be good for you. The only way it's going to do it is you got to get and go work at it. Make relationships. Be kind to others. Being kind is free. You can get up every day. And so I have a motto every day. My past life created a question that I do every day, and that's, I want to live today. And I look at myself in the mirror and say that. Secondly is, I'm willing to learn something new about my business, because even with 25 plus years in it, so that I can be better at what I do. But most importantly, do something today to improve somebody else's life without any expectation in return. And that sometimes is just a smile. Yeah. And those are the three things that I live by every day.
Yeah. So you got your own ethos that you kind of live by. You got your own thing. So, what made you want to run?
Well, so when I got into real estate in '93, after I fumbled my way through, I got invited to sit on an ad hoc zoning committee. And at the time, I had no business being there because I didn't know what I was doing. But you got to have a start somewhere. But what it did is it opened my eyes to there's all these people that have nothing to do with government that are here to help government and help the people that live in the real world, their business people, and that was attractive to me. So over the past 20 years, I have been a member of the Panama City Planning Board for 12 years, Panama City Code Enforcement Board. I'm currently a board member of the Bay County Planning Board, chairman of the Bay Education Foundation, which means a lot to me. And I also mentor kids with Take Stock in Children. So doing those things, again, reinforced the community service, but what it really did is fills a hole in my soul. But what I didn't know what I was getting, I was getting knowledge and education on how to do if I went to the other side, okay? The dark side, you know. So I've always wanted to run. Timing is everything, right?
Yeah.
I have 3 children. I have a 29-year-old kid that'll be 25. He's my musician in May, and I've got one that'll be 21 next month. And two boys and a girl. And the 2 boys live here, and my daughter lives in Atlanta. I'm an empty nester. And somebody said, how long did it take get used to being an empty nester? I said, about 30 seconds. And so I have time. My real estate business is chugging along, albeit it's a little bit slower right now, but it still is. And it became apparent to me that I like what's going on. Okay. Now, downtown Panama City is on its way because Jenna Halligus, Commissioner Halligus, she stood up and took a lot of bullets, and she saw a vision. And she went when people said, don't go. And she asked when people said, be quiet. And I'm good friends with her. And so I watched that. If I like what I see going, they say people run for 2 reasons. They want to keep what's going on, or they want to change because they don't like what's happening. And in my lifetime, it's the 3rd time that Panama City downtown has had an opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
It's the only time it's had funding to make it happen. That's important to me. Because when I went to college, it took 2 generations of kids to come back. My sister, they didn't come back. The next one, they didn't come back because there was nothing to do. There's no jobs. Today, those 30s and 40s, they're here. The yacht club down in the Cove burned down a year and a half ago. I grew up in that and running around. Before it burned down, one night I was down there watching. There were 42 little kids running around. Now, that'll make your heart happy because that 2 generations, there weren't. So why am I running? I want my kids to be able to have a place to come back to. Or if they're here, I want them to have a better place to live on a quality of life. Yeah. And I like what's going on for me personally in quality of life. There's been a lot of growth. There's been a lot of change. And I happen to like it. And so the only way that I get a chance to continue that is stick your neck out and have a voice at the table should you win. Yeah. Panama City is at a crossroads. And I want to be part of shaping the future.
Yeah. So when you say Panama City is kind of like at a crossroads, what do you mean by that? Just by some decisions that we have coming up or decisions that have been made? We can get into, obviously I've had Michelle Bryan on. She ran for city commissioner.
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. We've had Brian Granger on. Obviously, Alan Branch has been on. Obviously, he's running for mayor. So we've talked about some controversial subjects. A lot of the controversial subjects that are kind of like going on are kind of set in stone. Like there's nothing really to be said any more about them. And the peanut gallery. So whenever I talk about the peanut gallery, if you've listened to any of my podcasts, I mean, that's referring to these hateful pages and shows that are out there that just they're always trying to, they say that they're uncovering corruption, but really all they're doing is just creating chaos, because if they looked into the facts, they would know that There's not really a boogeyman out there that's trying to devour our cities or our county. We do have influential people that kind of, and you know who they are if you've lived here for as long as you have. So I'm not telling you anything new. But I guess, when you say Panama City's at a crossroads, what do you think? What do you mean by that?
What's a good question? Why do most people come to Bay County? The white sand.
Yeah.
Okay? I'll give you an example. Remember, I'm a real estate broker. So I have a condo I could sell in the Cove on the water, 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 1,800 square feet, $500,000. You see nothing but water when you walk inside. This guy who was eating it up, he can keep his boat there and fish. His wife comes down from Birmingham. She says, no. If I'm coming here, I'm going to go down the elevator and put my toes in the sand. Okay? So that's fine. So we sold him a 2-bedroom, 1,150 square feet for $625. Okay? That's how powerful the white sand is.
Yeah.
But the crossroads that I'm talking about is, let me go back. The main reason I'm running is because I'm tired of the marinas that we have not being in operation. Okay. We're a waterfront community, 100% that we could live and die by the waterfront. And think about what is not happening because of the downtown marina not happening and the St. Andrews Marina, meaning tourism, commerce, local people taking advantage of the water. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've gone and made it clear over the last 2 years to the commission, as well as to the group that came in and that commission ultimately decided to work with on St. Andrews, SAMP, that I congratulated them. That's the first time we've seen anybody in 6 years working towards getting the marinas back up. And let's define marina. You got wet slip, you got the wet side and the upland. Okay, together they define the marina. But let's start with the wet. A lot of controversy over how the marina should come back.
So I know you brought this up. So I've had this conversation a couple times now. So now are you referring to the Panama City Marina?
Panama City Marina and St. Andrews
Marina. Mm-hmm. So you're wanting those to be more developed than what they already are? Or?
Well, I want there to be slips so that boats can come in and we can have uses. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that need places to put boats. Remember, waterfront community.
Yeah.
We also, St. Andrews Bay is also the intercoastal waterway. Okay. Yeah. So people go and they're called loopers. They'll do it all the way up the East Coast, come down. And there's people that come through all the time. There's nowhere for them to park and go. Yeah. Now, in addition to when Panama City entered into the lease agreement with the St. Joe Company, they spent $35 million building Indigo and Harrison's, and the city was supposed to build docks. Guess what we don't have? Docks.
So, yeah. I'm not going to pretend to be more educated than what I am on it. But I think, I literally just had this conversation the last podcast I did, and it had to do with the FEMA money, right? The reason why we didn't rebuild it back because we were going to have to rebuild it back as it was in the 70s and keep it to code.
That's a good question.
And so I'm just running you through what I know about it, and you can fill in the blanks. But so we didn't take that deal because we weren't going to have to pay the money back just in case we didn't build it back to standard what it was in the 70s.
Okay, that's you're on it. Okay. You're around it. Who'd you have this conversation with?
With Brian Granger.
Okay, all right. Who is very knowledgeable.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Yes, very knowledgeable. There's two schools of thought here. When the old marina was operational, it was a private club for the people that rented it.
Yeah, and so that was the other thing was we have people that were living out of state or people that were even across the bay, and they're not citizens of Panama City.
Right.
And so it's subsidized or whatever.
Basically, it's a cheap way to come down and visit our town.
Yeah, and so like these people are getting good deals on those slips, but they don't even live here. I can't remember what the percentage was.
30% below the market rate is on average is what we were looking at.
Yeah,
is what I found.
And then, but it was like these people were getting really good deals on these slips, but they They weren't paying taxes here. Not really.
No taxes.
Yeah.
No, they're coming down. But more importantly, they're locking the gates off to the public side, and they had their own personal clubs.
So would you, if we did bring back a marina, you would probably make it to where you had to be a citizen of the city to be able to have a slip there, right?
Well,
can you do that?
you can do, and that's harder to
Yeah,
do. But what
yeah.
you can do is you can stop people from being able to come and live aboard or come and stay on the weekend on their boat. If you're going to come down here, this is a marina that you keep your boat on.
Yeah.
That way, it's not a live aboard.
Yeah.
Okay, so that way, that person coming down, they either own a house, they're renting a place, whatever the case may be. Now it becomes more fair. Okay, that argument is we want to have what we had before. That's the people you're talking about. That well, the $15 million that the city does not have, that FEMA has not given us, okay, is a promise to give if, and you said it, we build back correctly. Now, the headline that you see is, because it gets said a lot, FEMA will rebuild and pay for 95%, and we will go get a grant to pay for the other 5%. So it's 100% taken care of. There's a lot of falsehoods in that, okay? And let's start with FEMA makes us build it back on our own dollar.
Yeah.
And so it's a reimbursement program. It's not a grant or loan program.
Yeah.
But we're not going to start at today's number. The electrical outlet that was there, that today is $9. Back then it was $2. Then we will start the depreciation then, 95%. Yeah. So the 95% really doesn't turn out to be 95%, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's a great idea, except in FEMA world, and I learned a lot of this from my mother who had to rebuild Holy Nativity. So another little tidbit there is I've got some good free how FEMA really works advice. It's called an EHP, I believe, and it's a status that gets to that FEMA says, okay, now you can go do this work. Mm-hmm. MLK Center and the Martin Theater are the only 2 in Panama City at the time that had that status. That makes, I'll come back to that because that $15 million you asked about is going to come back up. So at the time, the city could say, all right, we're going to take this $15 million and we're going to just take it and we're going to build back anything that we want to, which honestly, I thought was a good idea. Mm. Or we can go and build exactly where it was, okay? And we got to cross our T's and dot our I's, and we got to wait until it reaches that status of EHP, if that's the correct letters, and then we can go do the work. And it could be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I'm not okay with that because what's my number one reason? We got to have boats, got to have slips. So that makes private partnerships become more optimal, which we'll get to. So I think the interesting part here is the people that want the old, they want a marina. So does Robbie. Yeah, we're on the same team. Okay, how we vision of getting there are different right now. But I think if we can talk about it openly and not venomously, like the Beach Drive Path has done, let's have an open dialogue because they want to put their boat there just like I want to put their boat there. I keep mine at my house, but I want the commerce. I want the locals to be able to go down and use it. I want the tourists or the people that are coming in off the water to use it. Yeah. And now what they can do is dock and walk up Harrison Avenue. They can go to Harrison's. They can go shopping. We didn't have that before. Yeah. Because let me tell you, it wasn't too long ago. You could shoot a rifle down Harrison Avenue,
and nobody would have.
And nobody would know.
Nobody would. Okay. That's one of the things that. It's the reason why I thought Alan running for mayor was such a good idea because he's been one of the people that has really pushed for building up downtown and has been great. Mm-hmm. And so, but when you say it like that, yeah, I mean, dude, when I was growing up, so I grew up here in the 90s and early 2000s. So when you would, Harrison Avenue going downtown is just a dead district. You just didn't go there. And now I take my daughter down there. She knows, Whenever we go downtown, because I'll go to CNG, especially this time of the year around hunting season.
Must be a hunter. That's
and
right.
my daughter will look over at me and she's like, "Can we go get a pretzel from history class?" 'Cause she's used to going there, and we get a pretzel, and I have a beer.
Yeah.
And then we go in some of those boutiques. I didn't even know how many boutiques we had until back at Christmas. I actually did a lot of Christmas shopping downtown on
There you
Harrison
go.
Avenue. I went into I even bought some stuff for family members from the antique store, and I enjoyed being down there. And even with all the construction that's been going on, it's been, I like the fact that we have a downtown now, because when I was growing up, it wasn't a thing.
No.
So, anybody who's for that, I'm for it. I would like to see it grow up. I mean, everybody has a historical district that's just great to go. Like if you think about Savannah, Georgia, if you think about even Fort Walton and Pensacola, I mean, all of those districts that they have over there, like people are starting to give a damn about the older history side of their community and their towns, and investing more money into that, and then going after that. I think it's great, and I also think it's good because the people that come here and visit, like you said, the first thing they do is they want to go out to the beach, but that gets boring really quick.
Yeah.
I mean, that water, it looks the same every day of the week, and the sand, and it's just as hot. And
Right.
so sometimes you got to go look out to go do other things. And if downtown becomes more attractive, they will get more of those tourists, and the tourist development will go up.
And they'll,
Yeah.
So think about this. Take Beck Avenue, for example, and in your lifetime.
I grew up. So you know the area pretty well.
I do.
Do you Mound Avenue?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Laurel Avenue,
Yeah.
one street over. That's where I grew up.
Okay.
So I grew up 2 blocks from the toy box, 3 blocks from the Gold Nugget.
There you go.
San Andrews was but dude, San Andrews has blown up.
There you go.
Beck Avenue.
But then you'll
all of
understand
that.
this.
Yeah.
You could go down there, not get anything to drink, but maybe buy some illicit drugs or get in trouble. There was one restaurant. It was the Harbor House. Okay?
Yeah.
And there was the old hotel down there. There wasn't a lot of reason to go down there, just like we talked about downtown.
Tan fannies.
Think about it, okay? Now you can't find anywhere to park.
Yeah.
The Marinas coming back, and let's talk. And people are fighting to get there. Okay.
Yeah.
They did that organically.
Yeah.
Okay. But more importantly, once the beach operators figured out that it's a 5-minute more drive to come down here, they're not going to stay here. Now they got more activity to come from the beach. Hunt's Oyster Bar, you got to get there at like 3:30 in the afternoon to eat dinner because now they built up, so maybe it'll be a little bit better. That can happen in downtown.
Yeah.
It's 5 minutes, but we have to have a reason for them to come.
Yeah.
Matt Harbison and I grew up together. I sold out Los Anditos for him. He ended up buying Ferrucci's. On Tuesday night, we go down there and eat every night. You cannot park
Yeah.
anywhere down behind the Martin Theater because it's so full.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's stuff that people don't know. It's just happening.
Do we have a barcade now?
We
Point
do.
Break. So I actually know one of the
With
owners
real
of that.
games in
yeah.
it.
yeah. Actually, I've worked with one of the owners of that place, and dude, we go there about once a month now and go hang out. We have a business meeting.
Yeah.
Downtown's blown up. But yeah, back to what you were saying about downtown St. Andrews, how much that's blown up. Dude, I remember when like Beck Avenue was rough. Like you didn't want to be caught down there after dark because it was just a rough area. And yeah, no, I like what's going on.
What did it take though for Beck Avenue to really take off?
Getting
people down all the time. Harbor Village.
I think it was getting rid of the strip club.
Well, yeah. You had to do that. Thank you, Dr. Wolf, for buying it.
Did you notice that though? I'm not joking.
Yeah.
Once they got rid of that, everything got. I don't know. So Panama City, actually, are you? So this is kind of on topic, but a little off topic. The new ordinance for strip clubs in the city limits of Panama City.
Can't be on the corridor or downtown.
Yeah. So the Nugget's closing
Because the ordinance was if it sells, the real estate sells, they can't open up. And I think, or any portion of it, what they did is a stock transfer rather than selling it. And I think they have come up with an agreement that maybe in 2 years, 3 years, that they'll be gone.
Yeah.
So that's a tourist corridor. So when I was on the planning board, Well, let me go back to downtown. Downtown started, we were trying to figure out how to kind of make it more attractive for people to come and buy and build and develop.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of restrictions.
Yeah.
You couldn't skateboard. It was illegal to skateboard downtown.
Yeah, I know.
Okay?
Yeah.
You couldn't have tattoo parlors. You couldn't. Now you can because of Thistle and Thorn. But we created it was an overlay. It was kind of the first start. And we, from Beach Drive to Mackenzie Avenue, these are things that can happen in here. Well, now it's called the Downtown District, and it's actually a zoning classification. Okay, not dissimilar from what they're doing in St. Andrews. Uses, now what they did different there is they've limited the height in St. Andrews to 4 stories. Everywhere else in Panama City, you can go up to 125 feet. Okay, but that makes sense for St. Andrews because that's what they wanted. It's a little fishing wharf village. So when you come downtown, you want a reason to go there. And I'm gonna pitch something to see what you think. We don't have a civic center anymore. What's one thing that you could put on the upland that somebody in Chicago might say, I'm going to Panama City to do that? They might stay at the beach, but what's something that they could do? I think it's an amphitheater. Okay? I'm a music guy. I chase it all over the place. And a lot of people I know are. Every time I go, these places are full. It's an outdoor event with an experience of watching music with the sun going down and the bay behind you, or in front of you. That's pretty neat. But they might stay at the beach. Okay, that's fine. But in 2022, the St. Augustine Amphitheater, which is the model that I've kind of worked with, it had a $39.5 million impact to the city of St. Augustine. 26% of the people that showed up from out of state spent the night in a hotel and ate.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Now, you design that not to be just an amphitheater. This past weekend, we had beautiful weather. Now you got moms and dads and kids using the lawn of the amphitheater, making it so that you can have maybe even the farmer's market moves from Mackenzie. I'm not suggesting that. Don't throw us, but it's just maybe something like that. Yeah. Now it becomes multi-purpose. Yeah. Now you have a reason for somebody to come. A museum, an aquarium. I don't know that those are the draw. Okay. In your lifetime, what have you had to go to St. Andrews or there? It's food. It's fun in St. Andrews.
Well, that is one of the major challenges of living here. So back in 2022, we moved down to Tampa because I had to take a contracting job down at MacDill Air Force Base. And so we were down there for it's like a year or something. But while we were down there, we really fell in love with as many things as there is to do. And a lot of the things down in Tampa area has to do with being outside. They have those amphitheaters that you're talking about. They have those grassy areas, or the fake turf or whatever. Take your kids, there's playgrounds like that. And then they even have areas there where it's like there's stores along, but then there's stores along a pathway with playgrounds that are out in front with like a turf area. And so like you have a good combination and a mixture. So like there was never anything that like me, if I would look over at my wife in the morning time on Saturday morning and be like, hey, what do you want to go do? There's a list of things to go do. Here in Bay County, I grew up here, so tourism have to have it, but I don't want to go to tourist destinations or tourist, areas to go find something to do because there's nothing to do. Everything in Panama City Beach, it revolves around being on the beach and drinking.
10-4.
That's it.
Where's the experience? That's what you're looking for.
And that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, I get it. We've got Aaron Besant Park, and I'm not shitting on Panama City Beach or anything like that. I'm just saying that this stuff gets old because it's, I look over at my wife on Saturday morning now, and it's like, what do you want to go do? And it's like, oh, we can go to Pier Park, walk around. We're about to have Topgolf. And it's, the most, and I know we're getting a little bit off topic, and we'll jump back on it in a second, but it's very, very disheartening. It's gross. It's sickening. It makes me want to throw up because I just watched the news the other night or saw an article And they're like building up the fact that it's like, oh, we got Topgolf coming, and we've got Dolly Parton's pirate adventure that's coming in, and we've got this coming on. This is going to bring like 1,000 jobs, and I'm going, 1,000 jobs that are going to keep people in poverty.
Right.
Like these jobs aren't the ones that are going to do that, and these aren't things that I give a damn about. Like I want like what you're talking about, an amphitheater. Where we might have some at least decent artists that come here, want to perform. Dude, when I was in the Army, like I went to several bases, and when I would talk to people from other bases, whether it was like for training or whatever, and be like, "Well, where are you from?" Like Panama City, and they're like, "Panama City, Florida." It's like, dude, have you ever been to La Villa? That's the first thing that came out of their mouth, man. And it's like that's what we were known for, party with thousands.
That's right.
You know, and so it's like. As much as, you know, my buddies thought that was cool, it was like, that's actually kind of, I wish there was more to offer here to where I wasn't known as the spring break capital of the world.
Right.
So, but when you start talking about amphitheaters, when you start talking about bringing in artists, having multi-purpose areas where kids can go out and throw a football and you're in a safe environment. Listen, I'll tell you something about Panama City right now. And I know we haven't really hit on it. Dude, you can't drive 2 blocks without running into a cop.
Right.
I know a lot of people are like, oh, they're everywhere. You know, but I actually, now that I have kids, that's important to me. I like the fact that when I go down on if something happens on Harrison Avenue right now, 2-minute response time. I would imagine. Yeah. I mean, I mean, if it was more than that, it's probably a cop that needs to lose some weight.
Right.
But they're all over the place now. That like, dude, if you go down to there's no reason for you to feel unsafe if you go downtown Panama City right now, and that is something that was unheard of.
And that's really
ago.
true.
Yeah.
And I think true citywide. I was eating dinner the other night, and this lady said, my son wants to take an Uber from Lynn Haven down here. Is that going to be safe? I was like, yeah, he could walk. Okay. But other than the distance, talking about the cops downtown, I don't know what the ranks is, but they're married. Thor is their last name. And they're very cool. And everybody down there loves them. They interact with the business owners, they interact with, and that's a really big deal down there. Mm-hmm. And you hit on it. I can walk down there. I've got the social district, so they've enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So now you're opening up for people to go, businesses are benefiting from that. They're safe. Okay. You've got the reconstruction going. There's several businesses that have happened. People are taking risks today that they would not have taken in opening a business. Atelier is an example. Bayside, the boat rental place on Beach Drive is another example. All the shops that you're talking about, there's 3 in a row in Harrison Avenue. That was one restaurant. Yeah. Okay. So thank you to Panama City for taking on the road construction, the streetscapes. Yeah. And thank you to people like Alan and Kevin and Chris that go and buy and put their money where their mouth is and reinvest. It's things like that. Thank you to Stephen Counts, who's developing the Mashburn Hotel, who's got 18, or Mashburn, there's going to be 18 condos. And until we have primary full-time residents in downtown, that's the engine. You got to have them with disposable income. Think about what we've seen in 5 years. 5 more years now that we kind of understand what we're doing a little bit, that we can really make some progress. And it all starts and begins with what can I do, what's for me to do, not a party, not a tourist event. What can I do down on the marina? Okay. Let me talk about the Upland for a minute. Do you remember when the guy, Sonneblick, he showed up and man, he filled the whole, his rendition was to fill that place up with condos and high rises. That is not what we want. Okay. I grew up at that marina where you went down the boulevard. There was commercial buildings down the boulevard, and there was a 2-story hotel at the T-Dot.
Yeah.
Remember that? So, not saying that's what we want, but we know that was okay.
Yeah.
So we have to plan our growth, but we can't stop our growth.
Yeah.
There's a big difference in just growth and planned growth. And if you've seen online, I think Brian has been putting up different variations of amphitheaters along with other buildings. You know, some people have, I believe in commercial and residential together. They call it mixed use. Is it okay to be on the marina? You need people down there. It's not, you have 20 people that live up here and there's business happening down here. It doesn't necessarily, that's an okay thing. Just because you don't want to live there doesn't make it wrong or make it right. Okay. Now, St. Joe Company, they are there with a 60-year lease. They paid Panama City over $1 million last year in taxes. They didn't ask for one break from the city of Panama City. The only developer to come in since the storm that has not asked for a break from Panama City. That's a big deal. They pay 4 taxes and 2 other fees. Way more taxes than I do.
Yeah.
I believe in that. I like that return on my investment. What they also have the opportunity to say, we don't want a hotel over there where the Civic Center was. That's cool because you came down and spent the money. Get it. Yeah. So with them and their creativity and their forward thinking and our ability to say, we like this over here. I talked to them the other day. They like that idea. They really do. It's more people. You know, the Indigo's doing well. Harrison's doing okay. Put some boats, but you put some docks back there. There's going to be 50 slips on the west side of the marina. In West Basin, behind the Harrisons. That's the most we can have right now. It's a federal lawsuit that's going on out of South Florida that stopped the dock building, but this permit allows us to do that. St. Andrews will have 74 because they already have 24 of those working boats. So 50 new slips on each side. 50 is better than 0, but another 150 is what it's going to take to complete it. You have to have that, but you have to have the upland to make it all work.
Yeah.
So right now, I don't know what's behind it in terms of, I would fight hard for an amphitheater. The right type, not just a single purpose.
Yeah.
And that's our kickoff. How do we pay for it? Well, I've learned in my research so far and trying to understand the Panama City budget. I need a forensic accounting degree. I need somebody that some mathematician. It's impossible. Yeah. Okay. So one of the things that I'd like to do is kind of have if you go into PanamaCity.gov, click on finance, there's a budget that the layman, the 2 + 2 = 5 guy can read, okay, and understand. We take in this much money. I don't know if it's possible, but I think that's fair to the citizens. Yeah. We're spending a lot. We have a $157 million budget, okay, and we're spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
Do we have a revenue problem or do we have a spending problem?
Coming from somebody that works a little bit in finance, I'll tell you, like, most of the time it's a spending problem.
Exactly. Let's look inside first before we go outside.
So what things do you see that are going wrong right now with the city of Panama City? Or maybe not necessarily wrong, but so let's reword that. What kind of things do you see that Panama City is doing right now that you think you could actually come up with like a structure that would be better?
I think from a planning. If I said to you, if I said let's plan a party and let's put 5 ideas and throw them up on the wall and which one works best and we'll do them all. I kind of feel like that's how we operate. Okay. Now we have to remember that we're coming out of the 3rd largest storm to ever hit the United States of America. We got decimated. We didn't know what to do. There's no book on how to get through that. But from today going forward, I think we can plan better. Okay. Now, when you are dealing with grant money, FEMA money, state grant money. Grants have, and I learned a lot about grants through the Bay Education Foundation. That's where I really got a schooling on it. They have a lot of rules that go with them. Like when you start, how long you get to do it for. Yeah. You have to close it out the right way. And it has to all be done. It's all filtered down. So when you were talking about earlier, there's nobody in his pocket on this because every dollar that comes in has to be accounted for going out. Okay? Yeah. So, again, live in the Cove. So we had 2 road construction projects going, 2 different companies. Well, one started in the middle of the other one. Mm-hmm. People are like, why? Because this grant says you got to do this grant. So that's communication's another one. We need to do a way better job as a government educating, telling our people what's up. Okay. Yeah. So the answer that I've gotten is what's on our Facebook page, and we advertise it at the commission meetings. Yeah. So you're telling me that twice a month I need to be at the commission meeting, or I need to go visit the Facebook page every day. Mm-hmm. There's got to be a better way to do that. Okay. Now, do we do that through community events, i.e. the once a quarter meeting with your commissioner in in the ward, or do I split it out with, Millville, Cove, downtown, Garden Club? Do 4. Yeah. So that way, every month you're doing something, okay, and you're bringing information in. I will give kudos to what Mark McQueen started, and that's Monday mornings with the city manager. Except it's 8:00 on Monday morning. Mm-hmm. Okay, most people don't have that kind of time. Zoom helps. Okay, I get it.
Well, the way that I've always said it is when people talk about, because I used to complain, and I still do. Like, I think the county commission meetings are like at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. on like a Tuesday, like every second Tuesday or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, dude, man, people don't have time. My dad was able to make kind of a point to me. He's like, if there's something important that they're going over, you'll make time to be there.
You will.
Yeah, and I think that is a true statement. It's the same thing with like the city of Lynn Haven meetings, and I look at the same thing with the city of Panama City. But yeah, doing that thing with the city manager, I think that was a huge thing. And Jonathan Hayes is still taking.
And he's
that
continued
over.
that on. Yes, and I was going to say he's
continued it. But he didn't have to.
He didn't have to.
He didn't have to. He did it.
And I don't want to sound like I'm slamming the 8:00 time. You got to pick a time.
Yeah.
The fact that they're offering it.
Yeah.
Is good.
It is good.
And you hit it. So what I've learned about being on the planning board, ours started at 4:00 in Panama City, 1:00 on the planning board in Bay County. Both times hard to make. But if you have an issue that's whether it's yours or something that somebody's doing that affects you, you make sure to get there.
Yeah.
So if you the Panama City, they have one that starts at 5:00 once a month right now.
Yeah.
They had to vote because our commission meetings are now 8 hours long. Yeah, they had to vote that they'll only be 3 hours. Okay, so they start at 4 and go to 7.
That is so freaking true, man. Those things take forever now, and they didn't used to.
Well, when you have someone that shows up that's unprepared for every topic, it makes it longer. So a commitment that I'll make to anybody and everybody, and if you go check my roles on all the boards, I will always show up to every meeting prepared on every topic. Okay. That doesn't mean that I am the expert on it, but I'm going to be able to have a conversation and with either the commissioners or the public and be able to make a vote that is out of informed vote, not just because everybody's voting yes. That's a commitment.
So I got a couple of questions for you leading into the actual seat, and then of course your campaign. So I'll start with the seat questions first. So what do you foresee being the biggest hurdle if you were to take over the seat for your ward? Like the biggest hurdle that something that you want to do, like, so you're talking about the marina, what are the hurdles for that? What are the hurdles for, I know, so Ward 1 is the Cove area and...
all the Garden Club from Frankfurt Avenue east to Florida Avenue, okay, where the Buccaneer used to be.
Yeah.
Ride Business 98 all the way down to East Avenue and everything south of that. So it's all of downtown, all the Cove, and all of Millville. Yeah. From East Avenue down.
So right now, isn't like the biggest... So I know I walked the Cove in, my race, and I know one of the biggest things is the roads.
10-4.
So do you have any plans for that? I mean, how are you... So Brian Granger, when he was on, he was talking about the new CDD and all of that with Sweet Bay and how he's going to be able to utilize some of the money from that to be able to help his ward out. Do you have any ideas like that for your area?
Good question. Really good question. And I give kudos to Brian because Brian's ward is the only part of Panama City that does not have an extra function on how that can of income, like CRA. The only one that doesn't have it. Okay. So what they did is they created only on the new stuff in Sweet Bay, they created something that it gives the ability to have an income that goes back into infrastructure only. Okay. Yeah. So I give that kudos. So the answer to your question is, in my research so far, yes, roads are a problem, but that's everywhere, okay, in Panama City. And they are because FEMA did not have a chapter, did not have a clue on tree debris. They had to write a whole new chapter for us because they didn't know how to do it. So they've only paid us $69,000 for roads that they destroyed, that the big trucks destroyed. We appealed that. We won. So for about 18 months, maybe, we've been back and forth with FEMA. Okay, so we've got more money coming in that might help. People say, well, we're broke. Define broke for me. Got $23 million cash sitting in the bank.
Well, yeah, that's what Brian was saying. He was like, people are always saying this, and he's like, all you got to do is look in our...
Yeah, there's money there.
We're not broke. We have money. Like,
it's coming in.
We're in debt.
We got a lot of debt. Okay? Got a lot of debt. And I think restructuring it, again, I make fun of the budget, and I'm meeting with some people, I think, tomorrow about that. But restructuring how we do our finances, I mean, it could be a complete overhaul, but primarily we need to figure out where can we cut some. Mm-hmm. Grant writing. My daughter happens, I'm proud of my daughter. So she was in college, and her internship, she was at Flagler, and they have a great museum down there. And her internship was grant writing. I'm like, really, Savannah? Grant writing? I mean, what are you going to do with that? My God. What are you going to do with that?
Metric.
She's been around the world. She's worked for the city of Boulder. She's helped open companies. Yeah. She's the head grant writer for Boys and Girls Club of America in Atlanta. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing what she's done with it. So I've been picking her pretty hard about grant writing. Anybody can get grants. Anybody can write grants. And when we pay our federal taxes, a lot of that money comes back in the form of grants. Yeah. And if we're not going to go after it, some other city or municipality is. Why not go get it? Okay. Yeah. So not every grant gets done. Not every get awarded. But if you only write one, you only got one chance. And we need some grant writers. I want to come up with a program where we're maybe 1099. We're not hiring these people. Yeah. They're getting paid for what they get for us. There's a percentage.
Contract.
I'm used to commission dollars. I understand that. Because I have to perform in order to get paid. Yeah. And they're everywhere out there. So that's a big deal for me on the roads, because when we don't have money, what it means is we don't have money at $750,000 a block to take care of 400 miles of road. Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm fortunate. Two of the projects in the Cove, mine was one of them. Okay, so I have new road and new sidewalks and new. But when it ends and I hit the other one and it feels like I'm riding down probably where you were in the war, like that. No, that's not what we want. So planning, again, back to planning. In order to get the grants, you have to have it engineered. You have to have it site work. Everything has to go into, so you're paying for stuff up front that you'll ultimately get back. Okay. Yeah. So I want to take the roads, and let's talk about infrastructure. We're talking about water, sewer, roads. Okay. Trying to replace all the water lines, update the sewer line, take the road out, put it back together. We have 16 projects going on in Panama City right now like that, using SRF funds, using the half-cent sales tax, using the surtax, and using FEMA money. Okay, so if we let it all play out in 2 years, this debt that we have would all be paid back. Yeah. Why don't we pay some of this debt back now? We took this $150 million loan. We're using about $50 million. But we're paying this debt service on $150. Let's put it back over there. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm talking to you with ideas without having been through all the books hardcore. But those are just some of the ways that we can increase revenue without having full-time employees, FTEs, doing grant writing, and we can maybe decrease some of our debt service, which is huge, just for that one loan, and put that back into the reserves.
So fiscal responsibility is definitely, that's
and I'm not saying that they're not being fiscally responsible. I'm just saying that a different approach. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to move into campaign questions. So what have you been doing to get your name out there? Have you been walking? Have you been doing, or have you started all that yet? Or
well, yeah,
I will tell you.
You know all about it.
Well, what's funny is I remember sitting down with two specific people back when I was really thinking about running and kicking everything off, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you don't start walking and knocking on doors until like 2 months, 3 months before the campaign." And then it turned out, like for me, I think like I started knocking on doors like 6 months before the election. And then I know for the other two, one of the candidates didn't knock on a single door. And then one of the other candidates was striving pretty hard to hit as many doors as he could. But I was just curious if that's how you were kind of like getting out there, you getting in people's doorways.
Good question.
Yeah.
So, Alan kind of called my bluff. Remember when he had the candidate come meet the candidates at history class? It was about, I don't know, a month or so ago.
Oh man, I wish
It was all anybody from the city that's running can come down there.
Oh.
And I had to make the decision. I hadn't filed yet, but I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, the self-examination that you probably had to do too, of going through, do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
The political climate today, do I want to get into it? Why am I doing it? I can promise you 100%, it's not about money, it's not about power, it's about servitude. I know how to do all that stuff. I've been doing it for 20 years. I love it. I'm a nerd for it. But I said, all right, if I'm going to go down there, I got to be a candidate. So when I walked in, I went and filed. When I walked in, I didn't have a piece of paper that said Robbie Hughes for commission. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. So, hi, how you doing?
And the other candidates have like tables set
Right,
up.
yeah.
They
They got websites and all this stuff, yeah.
T-shirts, hats. Yeah.
So
That's
and so I truly, when I got here, I told you guys
I'm behind the ball.
I'm behind the 8 ball. And it honestly took about a month to get, you got to order the stuff, you got to do this. So I have all that stuff now. But in the meantime, yes, people said you got to go out and start talking to people, but you got to get your petitions. And I came in, I had 10 days to get my petition signed. Now I needed 63, okay, out in the ward. And I was like, okay, I know a lot of people. That's when I learned, walking around and asking people, you have to earn this seat. You have to go ask for their vote. You have to go talk to them one-on-one. And so to answer your question, every weekend I'm out knocking on doors. Good. Or on a Wednesday afternoon, I'm knocking on doors. And now I'm about to spread my wings this Tuesday at the Yacht Club from 5:30 to 7, having my kickoff and first kickoff party, fundraiser party. And then from there, I just left a meeting, kind of setting up the next 2 weeks. And it's somewhere in there I got to work, but we're going to be busy. Have you ever been to Greenville, South Carolina? Greenville, South Carolina.
Greenville, South Carolina.
What a place. And we're about 20 years behind them. It was a place where you didn't go downtown. Unsafe. Buildings empty. Today it's thriving. And they have this waterfall downtown. So when the mayor was talking the other day, he got talking about how cool it is. He said, you have to find your falls. Ours is the marina. Ours is that waterfall is the main event that people do downtown, okay? And they watch it. It's not like they're not going whitewater rafting. They moved a 4-lane highway that went over this thing so that people could have access to it. Mm-hmm. They have a baseball stadium. They have people residents. They have narrower roads. Victor Dover, who did here, also did there. I'm not advocating that we become Greenville, South Carolina. They have a model that we can apply to what works for downtown. So they do everything in private-public partnership. They land bank. They buy land, strategic places so that they can work with developers. Unlike Panama City, who buys land, just put it somewhere over here and somewhere over there. We're the largest landowner in the state of Florida as a city.
Oh, are we?
That's not a tag that I want.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of my things, and I've made it very clear, is that we need to use that land. Let's dispose of it, and let's either land bank somewhere else, or let's go pay off some debt. We'll find a reason. We'll find something to do with that money that's not just go put it in the general fund. Okay. Because when we get rid of the land, guess what happens? It becomes ad valorem taxes back to us. We don't have that today. Now, I'll give you an example. The property, the corner of Beck Avenue and 13th Street on the other side of Los Angeles, not on the other side of the road, the city owns it. They're getting ready to sell. There's 3 lots there. They're getting ready to auction. I think the number is $800,000, and they'll have a reserve for it. Okay, they're going to take that money and go down behind Hunt's, and they're going to build a parking garage. Okay, they're buying $1 million piece of property behind Hunt's, the old Detroit diesel place. That's going to be a parking garage. So they're using that money for a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a couple of other pieces that they've already started doing that with. The partnership part of that is we have to understand that private business does better, more efficient, and quicker than government ever will. I mean, you were in the Army. You saw how slow government moves, okay?
I've also seen the wasteful spending.
Wasteful spending. But you have to believe in the idea of a partnership first, but you have to be open to and easy to work with. Let's not put a lot of restrictions on how we operate with you. We might put restrictions when you buy this piece of property. You have to do access to the water if it is, or something over here for the public. And they know that going in. But it's their money and we get the benefit out of it. Okay? Now, the marina is separate and different than any other land that we have because we're not going to sell it. We're going to lease it. We're going to sell all the other.
Yeah.
So the partnership in St. Andrews on the marina, SAMP, St. Andrews Marina Partners. Let's see, they got a guy who manages marinas. Says that's what his company does. They got a guy who builds marinas. Oh, yeah, that's what, he knows how to do that. And they got a guy who that's in marine construction. And then we got a guy that they know all the legal work. We don't have that at City Hall.
Yeah.
So that's a really good deal. Now, the naysayer is going to say, we're not getting paid enough. The lease is too long.
Yeah.
Okay. My question is, what's enough, or write the check? If I can't write the check, I need to be happy with whatever I can get out of that partnership coming back to me as a tax-paying citizen. But what I want is access to the water. And in every agreement that they've made, no access has been taken away from the public on any of the stuff at the marina. That's a good deal.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
There just happens to be a hotel there that's they're number 3 in occupancy of the 13 that they own. Otherwise, there'd be a big square there. So when I'm looking at it from a partnership is, where's the benefit for the taxpayer? Does it improve quality of life? I'm not going to get money out of it. My life is going to get better. And maybe the government's going to get some money out of it in terms of revenue sharing, higher taxes, whatever the case may be. And remember, in the CRAs, they all pay 1% extra or 1 extra mil towards property taxes, and it comes back to that CRA.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can now plan, back to planning, with that money, what are we going to do with it? How are we going to work with it? The CRAs do that. As a matter of fact, when I leave here, there's a CRA thing for downtown. And I went to the Glenwood and the Millville one so far. And it's been amazing to watch the community and how they think about what they want.
Yeah.
I don't need to go into somewhere if I don't live there and say what you want.
Yeah.
And I have a good example. Planning board years ago, and if you're driving down 11th Street in Sherman, there's an apartment complex there. Mm-hmm. And it was being built, and there were some people opposing it.
Yeah.
I said, why? It's improving the neighborhood. And this guy got up and he said, you don't live in my neighborhood. You don't know anything about my neighborhood. Don't come and tell me what is good for me. Yeah. And I can promise you, I never forgot that.
Yeah.
So as I sit up on the dais today, I listen, I offer advice, because in my world, I'm a conduit of information for my customers. And if I do a good job of giving you information, hopefully you make a good decision what's good for you and your family. But it's not my job to tell you what to buy. Just like it wasn't my job to tell that guy what was good for his neighborhood.
Tracking.
If you listen up there, you can learn something new every time you're there.
Tracking.
Okay. So now I got a partnership over in St. Andrews, and there's a 5-0 vote already on the books to do downtown, and all we have to have is an agreement between the commission and the same group of people. That's kind of getting held up a little bit. Trying to have that put together on a short-term basis so that we can have docks down there maybe by the end of the summer. But I think you'll have them in St. Andrews by May. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Something new, something different. But to me, they are the lifeline of St. Andrews and downtown. If we can put people on the water, now the upland becomes active. I'm not worried about the uplands as much yet as we got to get the boats there to get the people back down there.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never kept my boat down there, but one of my partners kept his boat a marina over in Watson Bayou. They would go down there on Friday night, he and his wife, hang out on the boat, cook dinner, do all that. And that became a thing.
Yeah.
Now, unlike before where they were using it as a hotel and lock. You could have that, and it creates community, creates activity. Okay, so that's what people are looking for, is something you can go be entertained by people watching, walking down through and just people watch. Yeah. But you got to have something there. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I know Kendall, our producer, he had a couple questions for you too.
Okay, yes, sir.
And then I got one more to finish it up.
Okay,
and you're gonna like the one that I got.
Okay. Kendall, yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry, I had to take my headphones off or I get an echo and it's hard to talk. So when we first started talking, you mentioned your kind of vision of wanting more in Panama City for your children, and I see that as we're talking to people, kind of being a reoccurring thing. Do you think that's going to continue to happen as we see people get into local politics that kind of see that crossroads you're talking about? For example, my hometown kind of went the wrong way down that when we hit that crossroads and kind of died like an old. So I'm from Ohio, but it kind of died like a coal mining town when the mine shuts down.
What happened? There was no reinvestment?
So its main source of income was an old airfield that would do shipping.
Okay.
So DHL bought it, and then it became more cost effective for them to go down to Cincinnati and move a mountain and build a new airport than continuing the work out of there.
Wow.
So, the town died, and I just kind of say that because I'm more pessimistic than Ron when we talk about this crossroads with people, because I've seen what the dead end road looks like and want more for kind of my new home here down in Panama City. So I was just kind of looking for the glass half full with you, as you've mentioned it, other people have mentioned it. Do you see that being a reoccurring theme as elections continue here in the county, even at the city level, where people want more for their children and build that community? Or do you think kind of that local corruption will continue, where people want to be a big fish in the little pond?
Good question. And I do not want to be a big fish in a little pond. I want to be a little fish all the time. But so let's. I've been alive long enough to watch downtown be vibrant. The mall happened downtown across America. Downtown's got crushed. Well, it's been interesting to me to watch even our own commission talk about the mall that's privately owned, that's following the rules. Why are we talking about somebody's property? Okay.
Well,
however,
I don't think that they were necessarily following the rules.
It's a dive. Okay. They're not making it pretty.
Well, so I'm not trying to talk about the freaking mall again, but dude, I got a little wrecked, just mentally, because I had Michelle Bryan on, and she talked about how code enforcement was so bad in her ward after Hurricane Michael, and like people got fined out the ass, and, like all this dumb crap, and then we got the mall, and like they were just nobody from the commission, nobody from anywhere else can answer that question whenever I ask it. It's like, did they get fined for the eyesore of what they had going on there for freaking years?
Okay, so eyesore and unfit, unsafe structure are two different things. Okay, and unfortunately that's defined. That's defined in the code.
Yeah.
So notice that Sears is gone. Sears has been taken down.
Well, yeah, because all the Sears basically closed.
Well, they collapsed, but
Yeah.
of all the mall,
Yeah.
that had to go away.
Yeah.
Because it was not in compliance.
Yeah.
All right, so a lot of people have talked about that big old open space out there. One of the reasons the mall has not done anything is the DOT is affecting the mall two ways. There's 6-laning Highway 231, okay? And so when they do that, the south side of JCPenney's going up 231, all that, they're going to take some of that. That hasn't been done. So here's all the way up. And then they're doing a flyover, Cove Boulevard over 231. Remember, it's going to be wider.
Yeah, I knew that.
And that big old, where the cars fall into when it rains, that's getting affected well. So every owner of the mall, there's 4 of them, are being affected by the DOT. So as a real estate broker, I wouldn't not tell somebody to sell their property before they finished up with the DOT. Oh yeah, by the way, the DOT runs out of money on a regular basis for acquisition, which they have already now. So waiting to reload. And so that's part of the problem. Communication from the city. We talk about that. That is a real problem right there. Sears is now in a place where they were a little bit farther along. They might be done with the DOT. So that's my first thought on the mall. But let me go there. At the Glenwood CRA social, the mall is now part of downtown North. Okay, which means those taxes are coming back into the CRA and can be used over there. There's a strong possibility the mall owners, not Dillard, Sears, or Sears, or not Dillard, Sears, or JCPenney, the mall owners, the middle where Starbucks was and where Best Buy, all that's the mall, and not just that building, that they would sell. Well, we've already discussed that Panama City has trouble fixing the roads with money. How are we going to buy that?
Yeah.
But somebody else can. Somebody else can partner with the city. Now we can do something there. But I want to go back to the crossroads here. The crossroads that I'm talking about is we can stay this little town that doesn't have a purpose when compared to the beach, that nobody's going to go past St. Andrews. We can stay this little town because, remember, we're surrounded. We can't grow out. We got to have a reason. So if we make our place for people to want to come, nicer roads, we have entertainment downtown or entertainment on Beck Avenue. We make it so that people want to live here. They're going to talk about it. And you got to do that through positive leadership and good ideas that are not, there's going to be a controversy from somebody on any idea you ever have, okay? But ideas that work for the general public. And ours need to center around quality of life and the water, in my opinion.
You're preaching to the choir, and when you said that just now, I saw myself in a lot of things when I was running that I would say, where it's like, you got to give people a reason to live here. I said it so many times, and I was chastised for it because it was like this whole thing of like, oh, we have to, we need to keep going in the same direction, and we're going to expand and grow and all this. And it's like, dude, like right now, if your kids were to graduate from, you have kids. How many are, what? Hold on. First question. So you said you had two boys. They live here.
Two boys.
What do they do?
One has a band. He's a full-time musician.
Okay.
And the other one is he lugs a wrench. He's a mechanic.
Yeah.
Went to Haney, and I'm embarrassed to say that I'd never been there before. What an amazing place.
Yeah.
They gave him a great start. And we need to put more money. We haven't even talked about education, but we need to put more money into vocational
schools.
And trade schools.
Yeah.
Okay. Is your dad Brian?
Brian.
Your dad? No. Okay. There's a
Brian Keel.
Yeah. And so what we don't have in the future are masons and framers and all the people. And I build houses on the side. That's a problem, guys. Okay. Because my kid wants to come work with me. Except he wants to be up here where dad is. He don't want to start down here. And I tell him all the time, why is that? Because that's that generation. Our fault. But so I want them to have a place where they can have good restaurants. It's safe. They have good education.
Yeah.
So the federal government coming back, spend $4.6 billion. There are three things they had to have. They had to have education for the families. They had to have housing. And they had to have jobs for their spouses. We happened to meet with the housing department twice for the Air Force. And the first time I asked her at the end of the meeting, I said, we ready? She said, not even close. You know what made us ready? All the apartment complexes that have been built. Okay, the second time we met with them. She said we need 5 more of them. So from there, we're good. The jobs for the guys are there. Education is the biggest problem. Not the biggest problem in terms of what they want, what they're expecting, where they're coming from. I'm going to give kudos to the general, to Mark McQueen, because I think he's moved us up 8 spots in the state in terms of a good education in the counties. And he says, that's not good enough. Good. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
We need that because that's something we need to promote. Come here, live on the coast, and get a good education for your kids. Come here and live on the coast and have a wonderful quality of life.
Yeah.
That's how you get them. We haven't had that for 2 generations.
Yeah.
And we're working on that now. And if I can convince somebody to stay here because they enjoy the water, I don't have to do that because they love it. but I got to convince them to stay here today for those reasons that we're talking about. I don't want to have to convince them.
Yeah, you don't want to just attract retirees.
That's right.
You've got to attract. Well, I mean, it's just like, so most of the people that I talk to throughout campaigns, including some of my friends that I went and knocked on doors for them, they all had the same complaint. It was like, my kids, they graduate high school, they leave, and they never come back because there's nothing here for them.
Well, let's use Florida State as an example, Panama City.
Mm-hmm.
It was built for the sole purpose of trying to educate and keep kids here. I mean, you go live in the dorms there, you're going to downgrade when you get there because it's on the bay. But Triumph just gave out the largest amount of money that they've ever quoted, $95 million to Florida State for this wind tunnel, turbine that they're going to create and build out there. So the engineers and now we got jobs for them, the kids to stay here. But more importantly, I was talking to Becca Harden about this, from around the world. People, businesses will come and use this operation, rent it, test with it, and they're coming to Panama City.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what we're talking about. So in conjunction with private partnership, grant money, education, all that creates a reason for somebody to stay or come here.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. Yes, sir. I think you had another one.
Yeah, I do. Here, let me take my headphones off. So as we're talking, you're saying about getting people to stay, and so we need to create things. As kind of like we've talked to people again, there's been projects that have wanted to come here, but red tape has kind of kept them out. I know you kind of mentioned some of them. I think the most notable was kind of the Thistle and Thorn for downtown, to where they kind of had to get the codes changed. The real question I have is are you gonna cut some of that red tape because the government doesn't create, to make it more attractive for people to create those businesses that make people want to stay, whether it's something to do, something to actually work at, or just making the community more vibrant. Yeah.
Regulations and red tape are nothing but a stopping point. Now, if we can cut a regulation, and what's interesting is that vote happened, tattoos were illegal downtown, and then they were legal downtown, and they couldn't open their doors until that vote happened. And it's a great place. It's a wonderful place. But if we can cut regulations to get people to come here, or the fact downtown Panama City is the only opportunity zone in Bay County. Okay. So nothing has happened there because the guys that showed up for it before, regulation, red tape, we ran them out of town.
Yep.
Okay. Now I think we're on the right path to say, come here and do that. So what we need to do in Panama City is unfortunately, I saw it today too, not the easiest of the governments to work with when you're coming to planning and building and developing.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to streamline that, and I promise you, one of the things that Alan will do, that's big on his list, and he's good at that. Okay, if we can streamline there, it makes it easier for somebody like me for what I do, to work with people that want to look downtown.
Yeah,
and let me say this: this is my ward, but I know all of Panama City is who we represent. I mean, think about who would have ever thought that Sweet Bay had $750,000 homes in them? Okay? It was an airport, but it's killer. That's what we needed. So I would do everything I can to make it as easy. I don't like taxes and I don't like regulations.
Yeah.
Those two things are stymies. But let me say this. I do believe in the fire tax as long as it is, as long as it goes towards the fire department and it does not just go into general fund. It's restricted. I've talked to 3 firemen. They said it was a game changer for them. It improved across the board. Okay. So with that, I would do that. That's a tax or a regulation that I would normally not like. And today I'm in favor of it.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I had my headphones on. I hit that echo wall. No, I think when you said, red tape is always going to be a barrier and that you're against it, that pretty much answered it.
Well, let me say this too. If you come in if you're a developer and you start asking for things from me as the city, let's talk about what do you do first and how can I help on that rather than what do I have to take away in order for you to show up? Yeah. Okay. And by taking that away earlier on, How can I help? You remember, we're the only government in Panama in Bay County that voted. The voters said no to the 10-year tax break. When that happened in the last election, everybody else has passed. So we have one break we can give them. That's in the CRA TIF money.
Yeah.
But I'd rather them want to come down here because we got a piece of property, or we can help you with whatever requirement of this exterior wall's got to look. We'll do that, and you're gonna do the big haul. You're gonna do the big lifting, and that's where we work together and get rid of and see where regulation would have stopped that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got one last question.
Okay.
And I told you that there weren't going to be any trick questions. I told you there weren't going to be any, ooh, I gotcha.
Right.
This is a big question for me, but this is also I talked to you a little bit even before we started, and then at the beginning of the podcast, I call it the peanut gallery, which is those pages on the social media pages, and then there's some shows that are out there that kind of build up this thing to try to make people look corrupt and things like that running for office. I have several, obviously, if you've seen the podcast, I have several people that I know, and some people that I even consider friends that work in politics,
right,
that are sitting members of seats, and I've got an accumulation of answers from them whenever I've really dug down into this, and so it's about donors. I think it was Robin Williams that had quoted, I wish politicians had to put their donors lists on their jacket.
Race car drivers,
NASCAR drivers. That way you can see who owns them.
That's right.
I honestly do believe that is a thing, and it is something. I don't think that it's necessarily one of those things to say, oh well, if this particular person or this particular company is giving you money, then you're owned by them. That does come down to the individual that's running for office and that holds a seat, to be owned by them. But it does throw up red flags with a lot of people that are out there. So I think it is one of the most disgusting things to hear ever come out of a politician's mouth when they say, well, if somebody offers me money, I'm just going to take it. But, if they ask me for a favor, I'll tell them no. And it's like, no, that doesn't cut the mustard.
Right.
And most of the time when people say that to me, and I have friends that have said that to me in the past, and I've been like, that is a horrible way of looking at it, because you need to be squeaky clean, and you need to fill the part.
Right.
So with all of that being said, the majority of your donors, they're coming from actual individuals that are living in the city, and you're not really sticking to the big time businesses that have some sort of interest in the city and development in the city. So I guess my question is A, how do you feel about that? And B, are you sticking to, grassroots efforts rather than I'm just going to have this election bought by, several millionaires in the city?
It's a really good question. And we talked about the self-examination part when I was trying to decide if I wanted to run. And I was one of it, because I grew up with Griff, I grew up with Jenna, I grew up with Chuck. They're all politicians, but they're my friends before they're politicians. Okay? St. Joe has affected my life, and I worked for them. They made my middle child, the musician. I mean, he made it very cheap to have a kid. So I'll always be grateful. But they affected my business life. Are there businesses or people in this town that you probably don't want to associate with from a political standpoint, optics like you're talking about? Sure, maybe. My goal is to take it from people that live in the ward first. But here's the loophole. You want to give me $5,000, you do it from you, your wife, your this and that. Okay, I don't know. Give me one check. Okay. If you want to give me $1,000, fine. If you want to give me $500, fine. But mine are also made up of $20 and $50, and I'm getting that. Here's what I've learned about elections, and you said a little while ago, first 4 checks I wrote had nothing to do with the election. It had everything to do with the state and this over there. Okay. So real fast, I learned that. I'm going to tell you a story that I hope helps describe how I will operate. Baldwin Road on the north end. Today there's a Circle K. There were two houses. It's where the Sutherland family grew up, and they came. That's Panama City side. They came and asked for a rezoning because the dental office wanted to buy one of their residential homes and make it a dental office. I was on the wrong end of a 4-1 vote because I said, if you do this, when you go into a residential neighborhood, there's an expectation that, one, it's going to be safe, two, it's going to be fairly quiet, and three, you're not going to have a gas station next to you, okay? Or a dental office. So what's going to happen is if you do that, you're going to open the door and commercial's going to run down the road. The person that I voted against was a sitting United States Congressman, Steve Sutherland, great friend. I didn't vote against a person. I voted against an idea, okay? I was thinking about the city before I was thinking about the person. A family came up and thanked me for voting that way, even though it was on the wrong side. And I love them. They're great people. That's how I vote. And I have a record. I'm the only person in this election in Ward 1 that has a record of voting. I'm the only person that's been involved in politics, as you would call it, for the last 20 years. I didn't just show up, okay? So I'm not going to get bought. I don't have it on me. My credit card wallet, I have a check in there right now. So if you give me a check, I am fortunate enough to win, and you come back and say, man, remember that? Yeah. Here, now we don't have to worry about that. I'm not going to keep your money. I'm not going to take your money for a vote. I'm not going to take your money for influence. I only get one chance to show you my integrity, and after that, it's over, okay? Now, who's to say which company's the right one to take from and not the right one to take from? And we can all form our own opinions.
Yeah.
I will say that I think I've done a fairly good job of not taking it from what I think you called the elites, the powerfuls. Not because I don't want to. I'm talking to them.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I've raised a little bit less than $20,000 on my own. Haven't had any parties, but I'm going around knocking on doors and doing that. Not picking up the call and hey man, I need $1,000. Come on, pick it up. I'm not doing that. But I'm also friends with some of the names that you would put into that pool.
Yeah.
Because they live right around the corner from here. I grew up with them.
Well, it makes sense when you grew up here and you know everybody.
Yeah.
Like if you're able to raise that kind of money, it doesn't make sense when we have implants to come here and make that and
100%.
raise that kind of money.
100%.
Because it's like, that looks like
And I really wish that I've learned. I really wish that elections were about voting.
Yeah.
What I'm learning is that it's not.
No. Mm-mm.
And here's the way I look at a donation. You believe in me to go vote in a manner that you would probably vote or believe. That's not a buy. That's not a promise. That is what it is. Just because you don't like that person or that company doesn't mean that I'm in their back pocket. I don't know how to get in somebody's back pocket.
Yeah.
Okay. It would bother me. I couldn't do that. So the answer to your question is, I've been meticulous in how I have approached donations. Yeah. I have not had somebody ask me to give one to me that I've said no to, but I haven't had somebody to use your framework come to me and offer that either. Yeah. Okay. But I probably would. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this for power, and I'm not doing it for notoriety. I'm not doing it for money.
But the reason why the question was asked is because that is that's the. Well, what I'm trying to, so when I do these things, I have to reprogram my mind because I want to talk like a grunt.
Right. Good old boy.
Yeah.
Don't know what that definition is. Because I know everybody that grew up here does not mean I'm a good old boy.
Yeah.
Now, let me say this too. Every board that I have sat on, I went and asked that person, or went down to City Hall. I went and did that. Nobody called me and said, we've handpicked you to go sit on the board. They wouldn't do that because when they started doing it, Robbie didn't I wasn't ready for that. So I've done a lot of this on my own. I'm a nerd. I want to know.
Yeah.
Government affects my life personally, but really affects my life professionally.
Yeah.
Okay? On a local level. And I want to make sure that if you're going to come work with me in terms of trying to buy a house, it's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. But as a commissioner, I don't want to make it harder for you to do that.
Yeah.
Okay? But here's what I've also learned. I did have somebody say Get them checked. Well, this topic, and they gave me their spiel. I said, all right, I'll take that into consideration. Why even have that conversation? Because it affects them, not me.
Yeah.
Everybody has an axe to grind. Giving me money is not going to sharpen your axe. And again, hey, my dad asked me, so what happens if you lose? I said, Dad, I ran for president of our CPAR Association and lost. The next day, the sun came up, and I went and sold a house.
Yeah.
But you know what the public will know? Is that Robbie Hughes he's been involved and committed to the city of Panama City and his professional and community service for a long time. And I rest my head on the pillow at night knowing that. Life rules, speeding, partying, all that, gray areas. Business, above board. Government, above board.
Yeah.
I'm in business with a current commissioner. Yeah. I'm not. Why would I try to go get around and do something stupid? That only hurts me. Yeah. Okay. And I love doing business with the city if they'll just act right and do it our way. But but they've got some good ideas. I'm not going to put myself in a position, hopefully, at least from a conscious level, that I have to explain who I'm taking money from. No, I get it and they get in trouble later, whatever it is. I can't change that. But right now, it's tough. I'm your friend. We grew up together. We played ball together. We skied together. We did all those things. I'm sorry, I can't do that. There's one that's I'm going to have to be you when you say, I know it's coming, okay? And I'm okay with that. But I've been friends with some of these people you're talking about on the shows and all that for 20 years. Yeah. Here's what's crazy. We've always gotten along. And now I'm going to be a crook? And all I did was sign the paper to file? Yeah. No. Today I'm the same guy. I just want to help. I want to help some more. Yeah. I want to get to the other side. And I'm 100% going to do whatever I can to make sure that my vote matters for you.
No. Well, I'm going to close with this then. I think it's great what you're doing. You seem very, very knowledgeable on what's going on. It seems like the Marina is a huge focus of yours. It is. Your ward, I do believe that there's a lot of work to do in that ward. I don't live in the city of Panama City. Parents do still, but I think you're on the right track for what you want to see done. And who is it that is the opposing candidate for you?
Well, there's two. There's
is there
Daniel Schultz and Ed Young. Those are the two. And I got in late too. So some of my friends over on the Beach Drive area, they'd already they've already tagged on to somebody. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's not a slant on me. Mm-hmm. You got in late. You're giving money. Okay, you can give me some money too if you want to. But it's that way. Every vote matters. I just got to go find the ones that are ready to do business. Let's go vote. Let's hang out. The reason that I know what I know about Panama City, I'm not special. I go sit in the commission meetings. I go sit in the CRA meetings. I go sit in the planning board meetings. And I've been a part of those boards. Yeah. I bring knowledge and experience.
That is something that I think is a huge deal that a lot of people don't really think about the most when they're voting. I just had a conversation with one of my buddies yesterday about it, and he currently holds a seat. I was talking to him, and he said when he was first starting to think about running, he was trying to get on some boards because he really wanted to learn. And he said, if I really had to do it all over again, I would have been on a couple of those boards to kind of see how. So the fact that you do have that kind of experience coming in, like how stuff works, you know the process. I think that's the main thing right now. Like when you have somebody, that's the reason why I'm different on term limits, which I could ask you where you are with that. And the reason why is because if somebody's doing a good job,
right?
So I look at term limits completely different than when I ran. When I ran, I was completely I was like, no, term limits. People need to get out of there just as quick as they went in. On these smaller municipality races and even at the county level, if somebody is doing a good job, the people will vote them out if they don't like them now. But then it goes back into the same argument that I had where elections can be bought. So there's a counter argument there. But my point is that whenever you bring somebody into a new seat, by the time they learn what is going on in the processes, they're up for re-election again, and they're worried about their campaign. So the fact that you're coming in with a little bit of knowledge of how stuff works should be a leg up.
I think so.
Yeah.
I hope so. When I sit at the dais on a planning board meeting, the exact same system is set up as a commission meeting.
Yeah.
Somebody's running it. It happens to be the mayor. This happens to be the chairman. I've been the chairman. I've been the vice chairman. I understand Robert's Rules of Order. It's staff that you have to rely on. And if we're going to have term limits, we got to have bureaucratic term limits too, because ultimately they'll end up running the government.
Yep.
If I get elected and all I'm worried about is getting reelected, I'm not your guy.
Dude, people.
I'm not your guy.
Oh my God.
Okay.
That is so, that just seems like the, because, dude, even, so I mean, like I said, I talk to enough politicians and I'll sit here and I'll talk to them and they'll sit there and, you know, we'll have sidebar conversations. It's not here. And some of them, not all of them, but some of them will be talking about, oh, well, this vote's really going to help me in my next election. And, well, if I don't get along with this person on that, then blah, 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 blah. And it's like, dude, why don't you just do the right fucking thing all the time?
Exactly. I had a guy tell me the other day, said, Robbie, there's a lot of people that probably don't like you, but when they get done talking to you, they're going to know exactly where you stand.
Yeah, exactly.
What's wrong with that?
No.
You know, if you're not going to vote for me, my dad's like, well, somebody's not going to vote for you. Okay. If they don't like me already, they're not going to vote for me. They're not going to list their house for me. They're not going to vote for me. Okay. I can't please everybody, but I'm going to, if you believe in what we're doing and the fight that we're working towards, you can lay your head on the pillow at night going that he fought for how I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. And you may like the path, you may not like the path on Beach Drive. I'm one vote. I can't make it all happen.
Yeah.
You know, I can't make a bunch of promises that I can't keep because I'm only one vote. I understand that. And last thing, yes, I know a lot. And I think it's a benefit for the commission. I think it's a benefit for the team. But as I've perused through City Hall lately, there's so much I don't know that I have to learn. Okay. Yeah. And that's really cool because remember back at the beginning of this conversation, I like to learn. I want to know. If I can't do my job correctly, if I don't go around and ask a bunch of questions, they're not really liking that down there, but that's okay. You know, it's okay. I have to know. That's just how I'm wired. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to be committed to it, and we'll make it happen.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you make a closing statement. You can say whatever you want. Anything that we left out that you want to talk about.
I've covered it. I want to say thank you to you guys. This is a lot of fun. You give me an opportunity. You gave me an opportunity to talk about who I am and what I believe in, not politics.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a politician. I'm a dude that's from Panama City that loves the water, I love what I do. I love being a dad. I love being a realtor. I love managing people. This step is because I want my future here, my kids' future here, to be in a better shape. And I feel like I'm the person that, as a member of the commission, remember just one person, I feel like I bring good ideas and I know how to negotiate deals. I know how to bring people together, and that's just what I do for a living. And I feel like I can bring those skill set, and I can be a positive force on the commission.
Freaking sweet, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, no.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, dude, you're...